Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa on this Transformation Tuesday. No better person than Natalie Jill, who is, she's an author, she's a podcast, she's an extraordinary woman, all about killing the fat. And we're not just talking about fat, the FAT, which stands for...
No, false assumed truth.
We love that. That's all about LaLa Land. We love that. How are you, gorgeous?
Great. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you here.
So excited on Transformation Tuesday. We are going to level up.
I love it. You're using all my lingo. Great.
So I'm so curious though, what is your personal journey? Where did this all begin for you?
Yeah, so I am a walking example of what I teach and do, because whatever I'm going through is what I'm typically teaching. So my beginning into the fat loss space and starting with the Kind on Your Body was from my own personal rock bottom about 10 years ago. I was a new mom. I was going through a divorce, and it was the time of the housing market crash and the stock market crash, and life as I knew it completely changed, as it did for many people.
Right, 2008, man. Whew,
awful, yeah, times. Awful. And I fell into a pretty deep depression. I literally had everything that could have gone wrong in my life, felt like it was going wrong in my life. The one good thing that was still there was my daughter. And I remember going for a walk and catching a glimpse of myself in those windows that looked like a mirror. You know, I was walking my dogs and my daughter, and I saw things hanging on me that I didn't want there. And I remember looking and having this moment of, maybe this is what happens. Maybe you have a baby and you eat too much and you stop working out and life catches up and you just get out of shape. And I remember walking home feeling depressed about my life and having this aha moment that if I can't control all these other things going on in my life, I was at least gonna start controlling what was going in my body and my decisions and my thoughts, and I was gonna start to transform. And I did. I started with a vision board and taught myself to eat healthy, learned about working out, learned about it all, and started sharing with people.
You make that sound incredibly easy. And I'm sure it was insanely difficult.
Yeah. It's insanely difficult when we're stuck with those false assumed truths. When we start thinking we're too old, it's too late, I'm too tired, I don't have the time. But as soon as you make a decision that it's possible and you find other examples, it gets really easy. Right. It really does.
So today we're talking a lot about rituals, and I know that I can only imagine how many rituals and habits you had to put in place. What are some of those that were the things that really made the difference in that show?
The number one thing was the visualizing. So I used a vision board. You don't have to, but creating something that you can look at and start evoking feelings towards what you want. Because if you don't even know what you want, it's very hard to take action to get there. So the number one ritual that I still do to this day is visualize.
Love this. So, and you mentioned feelings. So what kinds of feelings were you trying to create?
Yeah, I was trying to stop the negative feelings of you can't, you won't, it's too late. And I was starting to create the possibility. So it's possible, it's happening, I'm working towards.
Confidence, faith,
trust,
belief.
And the more you say it, the more you start to feel it. You know, your brain has over 40,000 thoughts a day, and it could be whatever it is. And if you're not telling yourself these possibilities, you can go down a bad rabbit hole.
It's so interesting. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think so many times when we talk about vision boards, people assume that's a car, that's a husband, that's a house, that's my cute baby. And it's so much more than that. It's about how those things will make you feel.
Yeah, because so many people will look in the mirror and they'll say, I can't even imagine what it would look like to be this. But if you can evoke that feeling through an image or music or something, you can start to retrain your brain and take those actions towards that.
Did you have any support? I mean, because I think there's probably women or men out there that are kind of feeling a little hopeless. They know they're called, they're like, oh, you know, she can do it, I can do it kind of thing. But we get motivated for that like Monday diet, that Monday, like I'm gonna get my mind right. And then by Thursday, we're like in the dumps and we're back at the donuts.
And the reason is we don't have a true driving core motivator. So when somebody comes to me and they say, I wanna lose weight, or I wanna start a business, or I wanna whatever, and it's my job to find out what's in the gap for them, like what's not happening for them. And typically what's not happening is they don't really know why they want it. So I call it a driving core motivator. It's getting to the root of why it is they want this change, whatever it is. And when they can attach to that and the emotion, nothing gets in their way.
But what's the one thing that you see that is limiting them? Okay, so this is what I want to feel. Fear that's holding them back?
It's all of those things. It's all of those things. And it's this belief that what we've been told, and it's those I call them self-imposed stops because we've truly created it. We've heard it, we've thought it, and we get to own it and start changing that to make a transition. But that really is, it could be self-worth, it could be value, it could be a lot of those things, all of it fear. But you really can trick your mind to believe it's possible, and that's when it starts happening.
So true. So I want to jump a little bit, because obviously you have a lot of wisdom of getting your mind and your body right and eating well. But you know, I met you through a group of women that are
Yeah.
extraordinary, and I think people probably look at you for your platform also, like, how does she do that? How does she build such a
Yeah.
following? How does she do all that part of it? I think a lot of people want to transform their life in their business and take on being an influencer out there in life. So what does that look like for you? Because you're connected to so many
Yes.
communities.
And I wasn't initially. So when I started, my business started by accident. I was sharing this, I figured it out about myself. I started sharing on Facebook with my 100 Facebook friends at the time. And I was just truthful and authentic about it. And that's what works, and that's what's continued to work. Whenever I've left the authenticity of sharing what I'm really going through or what I'm really doing and connecting and listening to people, whenever I've left that and tried to hire people to do it, it doesn't work.
Interesting.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I fully believe that there is no trickery to social media or marketing or growth. It's when you can show up and be authentic and real and actually connect and listen to people and come from an approach of adding value and helping, that's when a social media platform and a following grows.
So you're managing all of this in your business. You.
Yes.
How do you stay balanced? That is a lot on your plate.
Yeah. So I don't put demands on myself about it. I share what's coming up in the moment. I don't stay stuck in a box or a bubble of it. And I can't be all places at all times. So things do sometimes get lost in the shuffle, but I've made it a priority that my number one priority is to share real stuff as it's happening and connect with people as I can.
And how has this affected your relationship with your daughter?
Yeah. So, well, my daughter knows it now to be part of our life. Like she's into the social media thing and knowing it to be part of our life. But she's learned to me, and I have my moods where I'm going to down, and she'll give me calls it a Natalie Jill pep talk. Which you're Natalie Jill. You can
awesome.
do anything.
That's so sweet.
she's a little mini me when it comes to that. Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to?
What I'm most looking forward to right now is my podcast that I started recently called Leveling Up, because I wanted to teach people that from any space, wherever they are, they can create everything from nothing. So I started a series where I interview people in all different industries on how they created from a place of having nothing, whether it was a massive failure or, just a marriage breakup or loss of their business, whatever it was. I interview people on what was the mindset it took to get out of that and create something. So that podcast, Leveling Up, is my passion right now.
So what's been the common denominator among your guests?
Oh my gosh, everything I just said, believe it or not. They create a vision. They declared it. They knew why. They knew their driving core motivator why. Morning routines are big. Most people have a morning routine.
And they all dance naked under the moon.
Yeah, they all do that, except for me. And the big commonality is they don't let any negativity in, whether that's family, friends, things they hear, they control all of that. Very clear that they want only positive stuff in.
So what are those boundaries you set for yourself in keeping the negativity at bay for you and your family?
Yeah, and I wish I could be more black and white about it sometimes, and it's not that perfect, but I go off a feeling. If somebody is empowering and makes me feel good, I want more of them. I want them in my life. If somebody is in the gossip mode and negative, or they're a dream killer, or I don't want them in my life. So it's not a you're out of my life, but I'm really aware of it. And I do it with clients, with customers, with people that work with me, everyone. If I have a client that is in that negative spin, they're not the right client for me.
I love that.
So true.
Abraham Hicks says, be a selective sifter of your experience.
Yeah, I love
Selectively
that.
sift for positivity.
Yes.
But that must be hard though too, because if people are coming to you to transform their lives, both you and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyone could come to me for free stuff and initial content, and they'll get a feel pretty quick for what I stand for. So if somebody is offended, for instance, by the idea of excuses or solutions you decide, I'm probably not the person to work with.
Yeah.
So because I'm really in this place of I'll help empower them and I'll give them the tools, but they do need to take that ownership and believe and get over the excuses and decide that they're going to find a solution.
It's such a great point, and I feel that way very strongly as well. Of course, I like to focus on the positive stuff, and I realize some people aren't ready for that yet. They still want to focus, and that's great. It's just not, I'm not maybe the perfect coach for them. But what do you recommend for folks that are just starting their business and maybe they only have one or two clients?
Yeah.
How do you work with that? Because I remember being at that place and being, this is probably not the ideal client for me, and I'm not their ideal coach, and at the same time, I kind of would like to pay the bills.
Yes.
How do you work through that?
I get it. Add massive value no matter what, and just be clear with your boundaries. I mean, I think the thing that people do wrong so many times is they just gossip about their issue versus going to the source. So if you're unhappy with a client, just go to them and talk to them about what's going on. Like, hey, I feel, it could be the story you're making up about it or whatever it is, but you say, I feel that when I'm around you, you're feeling this, and talk to them about it. Because when we just stay in that place of it's spinning in our head or gossiping, it doesn't change anything.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. My favorite Wayne Dyer quote is, the law of flotation was not discovered by the contemplation of the sinking of things.
I love it. You're a
Right?
walking quote
I know.
book.
I'm obsessed with books. I got a
I
problem.
love
It's
this.
an
Did you
addiction.
remember
But speaking of books,
So speaking of books, so tell us a little bit about the 7-day jumpstart.
So I wrote this in my place of rock bottom years ago, 10 years ago. When I was in my rock bottom, everything in this book is what I did to shift out of it. It's literally everything I did. And it's what created and launched my business initially. It started as an ebook. And it did tremendously well, helped hundreds of thousands of people, and then it's now a published book in stores.
such a great story, right? Because, and I think people often overlook that. My favorite books started as ebooks. So
Yes.
lots of them were self-published.
Yeah.
And this was way back in the day before self-publishing was even a thing.
Yeah.
And then they, found traditional publishers
Totally.
and they had even more success.
Yeah, so that's my underlying story to that is just go. When you have an idea and value and stuff to share it. You don't know who else it's going to help transform. My hardship, my rock bottom place transformed and helped so many people. And now it's in stores hitting more.
Did you ever imagine that?
Love that.
I didn't imagine it because when I was going through it, I just wanted out of that feeling. But I did share. And whenever I've had failures in my business ever since that, I always go back to that time with what worked for me there is I was being authentic and sharing, and I wasn't trying to sell. It was just me being real and sharing what I was going
So
through.
true. So
Who's been the most pivotal teacher or source of inspiration in your own life?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's so many. I'll say I have two coaches that I've worked with in the last few years, Michael Strasner and Chris Lee, who I love, love, love. They've helped change my life and recognize that what worked in my life before, I didn't even know what it was until I started working with them. So I would say them.
Absolutely. Well, we're so excited to keep watching your journey. And you're in San Diego.
I
Can
am.
people work with you from online?
All over the
also?
world.
Yeah.
All over the world. Yes.
So
How can we
exciting.
find and follow you?
Natalie Jill Fit on all social media, and NatalieJillFitness.com is my site, and then Leveling Up Podcast is where I am most.
Thank you for
Love
this Natalie
it.
Jill pep talk today.
Thank
We'll
you.
do it. Stay tuned.
Thank you.